My name is Richard Stauffer. I'm going to be doing a interval class today with a lot of different movements in it. Equipment required today is going to be I have a 45-pound ruck or backpack. Anything that's kind of big that you can kind of hold in your arms would work great, but again, the ruck or backpack is what we're going to be using today for most of the stuff. Obviously, you can improvise with what you have available. Another thing you're going to be required to have is a bottle of water. And one more thing to remind you guys of is I won't be playing any music, just so I don't have any competing kind of sounds going on with my voice, so you can hear the instructions. And obviously, it's important that you hear me breathing heavily as well. That's definitely going to be happening. So no music will get in the way of that, so you guys should play your own music. Okay, so in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel becomes accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it is entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in the class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces personnel not Canadian Armed Forces personnel, to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercise presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If any CAF members sustain injury during this video, please remember to fill out a CF98 to keep yourselves covered. Awesome. So what we're going to be doing today is a little bit of a workout, kind of doing some intervals and that kind of thing. The goal of this is a little bit different than some of the other interval or the power classes we've been doing. We're going to take a little bit less rest. We're going to try to keep moving for a little bit more of the class. But we still definitely want to take adequate rest. If you feel like you're going to collapse in this class or anything like that, take a breather. Feel free to modify it to your fitness level. Again, I've got a 45-pound backpack, so that's what I'm going to be using. But yours could be as light as 20, 15 pounds, whatever, or heavier than that, depending on your fitness level. Maybe all you have access to is something heavier. Potentially, you're going to want to go slightly shorter intervals than me, or if you have something lighter, you could potentially go a little bit longer and heavier and that kind of thing. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 little circuits with a little bit of work-rest ratios that I'll go into there. Generally speaking, there's going to be an upper body exercise, a lower body exercise, and sometimes a core exercise tucked in there as well. Generally speaking, we're doing this stuff for about 30 seconds of work and resting anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. For the rest periods, we're going to either be walking on the spot. I will probably be doing a lot of standing around, but during any time of the rest period, just walking on the spot is totally fine, just to kind of keep moving a little bit. I kind of like to just step side to side kind of thing, just to kind of keep my arms moving. I will be talking, doing a lot of this stuff. That's why I potentially might not be jogging on the spot or whatever. Help me catch my breath a little bit more because I'm talking to you guys, trying to make sure you understand the instruction for the next circuit. Okay? What we're going to start with right now is a little bit of a warm-up. Okay, we're going to begin with the same stretch I normally introduce things with, just to kind of get the blood pumping. For all I know, you've been sitting at your desk all day. This is the first opportunity you've taken to get moving around, so we're going to do a nice little light kind of warm-up stretch a little bit. What that's going to look like is we're going to take the right leg forward, left leg back, and we're going to be going into a kneeling position just like this right here. You squeeze the glute to the back leg, push hips forward, should feel a nice stretch in the front of the hip. From here, you're going to look over this forward leg just like that. I'm trying to have my hips are facing this way. I'm trying to get my shoulders to face that way. A little bit of rotation through the spine. From here, you're going to take your left hand up in the air, get a little bit of a stretch there, going in through the lat here. Reach it up towards the ceiling, keeping that glute plunge on that back leg, opening up that hip still. All right, from here, we're going to go down. You're going to hop the back leg towards the wall behind you, just like this. You're going to kind of let the elbows from this inside arm elbow go down to the floor if you need to feel a stretch. If, like me, you're getting a nice stretch on the front of the back leg, the back of your front leg, just like this, you can go ahead and disregard getting that elbow down. You're going to take this forward hand, it's my right hand in this case, up towards the ceiling, just like that. Try to stack those shoulders up on top of each other. Okay, arms swings around to the outside of the foot, toes are going to come up. You're going to push back in a nice little hamstring stretch to the back of the leg. Alternatively, you can drop that knee down if you prefer that. Whatever you're doing, just making sure you're getting that nice stretch to the back of the leg. Okay, we're going to switch sides. Left leg forward, right leg back, squeeze the glute, push hips forward, look over that forward leg. A couple exhales there. Send the hand up in the air. Again, a couple of breaths in this position. Reaching that hand up, but also trying to get it back, not have it too far forward. Relatively straight elbow is usually a good thing. Then we're going to send both hands down, pop the back leg towards the wall behind you. Again, sinking the hips down between the feet there. They stretch from the front of the back leg, back of the front leg. All right, rotate that inside arm up closest to the forward leg. Stacking the shoulders up on top of each other if you can. Try to get that palm to kind of face me. Swing around outside of the foot, back into that hamstring stretch all over again. Good. Then you stand up. And what we're going to do now is take the feet slightly wider and shoulder width apart. You're going to squat down, use the elbows, push the knees out. You're going to do a little bit of a rock, side to side. Doesn't need to be, crazy. Just kind of working that bottom of the squat depth there. Squat range of motion, chest is relatively vertical. From here, you're going to take your hands on the outside of your foot. Elbows again, push the knees apart. Drop the head down between the knees. Nice little stretch for the back of the leg and the hamstrings there. You don't need to necessarily lock out those knees. Whatever pushing your hips up gives you a little hamstring stretch, that's totally fine. Exhale into that again. Back into that squat stretch again. One more time into the hamstrings. And roll up out of that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to lay down for this just a second here. I normally do this one. You can do this one prone. You can also do this one standing up. So I'm just going to show you that variation. I'm going to lay down on the floor for the back half there. So all you're going to do is you're going to bend the knees, drop your chest down. Notice my back is nice and flat. What I'm going to do is this is called YTWL or YTW in this case. I'm just going to make a Y shape, make a T shape, draw my elbows in, make a W shape. What I'm trying to do here from this position here is make that shape. Then I'm going to go to the T, I'm going to squeeze my arms back. The W, squeeze my hands back, just like that. And I'm going to do that 5 times. So Y, T, W, 3 times. Just trying to activate some of the musculature in my upper back. Oftentimes people do that one before. I kind of like to throw a little bit of a standing variation of it in there. Some people find that one actually gets their upper back a little bit more. We're trying to activate some of the muscles in the upper back back here without really getting too much into the track, shrugging the shoulders too much. Okay, from here we are going to lay down on the floor and we're going to do a couple of dead bugs. I've done these for the last couple of classes here. We want to make sure that we keep the abs nice and tight. We're pushing our low back into the floor, kind of stabilizing the spine. Your back should not be moving. The distance between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your hip should not be opening and closing as we're doing this, okay? We're going to do 5 reps on each side with just the legs, and then we're going to bring the arms into it a little bit for the back half, 5 reps each. All right, so getting the knees above the hips and keeping my knees bent the first time around for the first little bit, because again, we're just warming up. We're not necessarily trying to challenge this. We're just trying to make sure we're doing the movement correctly. If you really want to get those legs straight, that's fine. But I find for me, I stabilize, my hips stay in the right spot, my spine stays in the right spot when I keep the knees bent. Then from here, if you want to go a little bit more advanced, that's fine. You'll notice I don't necessarily tap my heel down when my legs are straight. I definitely encourage you guys to just go as far as you can go while still keeping that spine relatively under control. Again, what we're looking to avoid, example of doing this incorrectly would be arching the back in this bottom position. Showing off a little bit of tummy here, that's not ideal. We want to keep that spine stabilized, okay? So that's what we're trying to do there. Okay, from here, we're just going to do a plank. Now we're just going to tap the shoulders. So I recommend starting with the feet fairly wide. Again, we're just warming up. Just like that. Alternating tapping We'll go 6 reps, 3 reps each side. Should be lots. And then we're gonna go back to that world's greatest stretch warm up. We're just gonna fire through the whole list all over again, okay? Squeeze the glute, push hips forward, nice stretch in front of the leg. Look over that forward leg, just like that. Hand goes up in the air, nice little exhale there. Try to take that palm back. Hands to the inside of the foot, hop the back leg towards the wall behind you. Nice stretch for the front of the back leg, back of the front leg. Again, drop that elbow down if you need to feel a stretch. Stack the hands on top of each other, reach up with that left hand that's closest to the inside hand. After a couple exhales there, push back into that hamstring stretch, keeping the toes up off the floor. Not sure if you can see that, my bag might be in the way. All right, go and switch sides. Squeeze the glutes, push hip forward, just like that. Go over that forward leg. It goes up in the air. Both hands down, back leg towards the wall behind you. Stretch the front of the back leg, back of the front leg. Turn, reach up towards the ceiling. Hand to the outside of the foot. Push back in a nice little hamstring stretch. All right, now we're gonna work those hips a little bit more. Squat down, elbows pushing the knees out, hands on the feet. Drop down to that hamstring stretch. Back down to that deep squat stretch. Hamstrings. Squat. Hamstrings one more time. Hopefully that's starting to feel a little looser. Roll up out of that. Good. This time I'm going to be laying down for the YTW. Big thing when you're laying down is just make sure to keep the spine relatively extended without overextending the back. Okay, so we want to keep the spine stabilized. We're nice, like not relatively extended, but a little bit of spinal extension is okay. But we don't want to overextend. We don't want to flare that rib cage out at all. So we're going to make the Y shape, T shape, W 3 times each. All right, dead bugs next. Again, I'm just going to start with the slightly easier version. My abs, so my hands are on my stomach, just to kind of feel, give me a tactile cue. Maybe things start to move a little bit. I want to make sure I catch that and make that correction. Then once I've got that going, then I'll bring the hands into things a little bit more. A little bit of a pain in the butt about dead bugs. It's one of the exercises I find people tend to screw up the most, so I like to bring up kind of ways to regress it. Oftentimes I get people to do the easier version, they do it properly, they find it way harder than the hard version because they're actually doing the thing right. Okay, one more thing, plank with shoulder tap. Do this one right here. Plank position. We're just going to do 3 taps on each side. Awesome. Okay, continuing to warm up here. Now I'm sweating a little bit, which is a good thing. We are just going to do a nice little general warm up I usually use with you guys. Is 3 push-ups, 3 sit-ups, 6 squats, 3 lunges on each side. We're just going to bang through that 2 times, and it should be just about time to get into the workout. 3 push-ups, sit-ups, right up onto your feet. 3 squats, pardon me, 6 squats. I like to do step back lunges. You can step forward, you can lunge across your living room, whatever you want to do. All right, right back to the beginning with the push-ups. 3 sit-ups next. Back to standing. Lunges. All right, good. Hopefully everybody's nice and warm. Just gonna give me 1 minute, we'll get right into the workout. already getting sweaty. Okay guys, so the first exercises we're going to do is a sandbag squat, followed by a plank with or without a leg lift. I'll explain that one in a second. We'll get into the sandbag squat first. What we're going to do, you're going to rack the sandbag up front here. It's a favorite of mine. Use it pretty much every single workout. I'm using the sandbag. I'm doing some kind of a squat in that front rack or zercher carry stance, or setup I should say. We're going to have that sandbag up nice and tall, feet slightly wider, shoulder width apart. You descend into that squat, stand right back up again, okay? Try to stand it powerfully, stabilize that bottom position a little bit. Try to get as low as you can without the feet leaving the floor, without your spine position moving a whole bunch. So if you can get down to here from your hips and here from your back, don't go any lower than this, just have that be your squat, okay? We don't need to do having the back doing a whole bunch of the movement with this one. Okay, so that's the first thing, 30 seconds of that. Then we are going to do a plank with a leg lift, okay? So what that's gonna look like, I'm gonna be hanging out my plank position, and we're just gonna be doing 30 seconds. Oops, back up so you guys can actually see me. 30 seconds, just like this right there. Just moving the feet. What we're aiming for here with the plank and the leg lift, 1 inch off the floor. That's all you need to lift the foot. As much as you can, having the glute be what's moving your foot off the floor, as opposed to your back arching. That's probably the biggest mistake I see with the plank with the leg lift, okay? So the primary exercise here for sure is the squats. That's gonna be the one to work. I don't want you to worry about reps so much for either one of these exercises. We want quality over quantity. For our first one, we're gonna actually try to do those sandbag squats just a little bit explosively, okay? So you don't need to necessarily jump, but I want you to think about pushing up as high as you can through the or as hard as you can through the legs on the way up. The way down can be a little bit slow, controlled, that's totally fine, probably a good idea. But on the way up, I want you to push. Your feet leave the ground just a tiny little bit, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We're gonna do that for 30 seconds, okay? Ready to start my stopwatch here, and we'll fire it up. Okay guys, got bag up nice and high on the chest, and let's go for 30 seconds. Keep high on the chest. Don't let the chest drop. Just like that. Those are done. Now we're over to the plank with the leg lift. Still keeping the abs on nice and tight. Butt's not way down, butt's not way up. Nice neutral position. Slowly alternating which foot is off the floor. And that's time. Good. Stand it up. Release the chest. Just a nice little recovery walk around, okay? I'm going to go back and forth here. For the next set of sandbag squats, what we're going to do is we're going to count down 3 seconds to get to the bottom. 1 second hold at the bottom. Up as fast as you can. And as little time at the top, while still hitting the top position. I still want you to get your hips through a little bit. I don't want you to cut it short. I want you to stand all the way up, but as soon as you can, right back down for that 3 seconds on the way down. So 3 seconds on the way down, 1 second hold at the bottom, up nice and quick, and right back into the next rep, without spending too much time waiting. So we're going to change up the tempo a little bit. See if I can hang on to that 3 seconds on the way down. Takes a little bit of discipline. All right, clock somewhere you can see it when I'm planking. Let's do it, guys. 1, 2, 3, pause for 1, and up. 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 One more. 1, 2, 3, pause for 1, and drop that rock, and into your plank. For the plank, hold for a 2 count. Other leg, hold for a 2 count. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is too easy. Spread your feet a little further apart. Just like that. That one's done. Good job, guys. Again, keep moving. Walk around a little bit. You got a jump rope. You want to hit that for 60 seconds. That's okay. I'm just going to walk back and forth. Talk about the next one, okay? So, we've done some more explosive on the way up. We've tempoed it out on the way down. For these ones, I just want you to try to hit as many good form squats as you can in the 30 seconds. So as many as you can get. Again, I want to make sure they're good reps. What's a good rep when it comes to this particular squat? Well, keeping the bag up nice and high in your chest is a good thing. If you're doing that on the way up, it's not really ideal. So you want to make sure you keep that chest upright. You want to make sure you keep the back nice and flat. Make sure the knees aren't collapsing in on each other. That kind of stuff. Now we're going to hold the plank leg lift for that same 2 count. All right, guys, let's do it. As many reps as you can. Ten reps in. You got 15 seconds left. Reps in, 5 seconds left. Whew. Good job. Plank with the leg lift. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 10 seconds. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, last one. 1, 2. Time. Good job, guys. Whew, that was a lot of work. I think we're going to do for the next one, we're going to go back to the tempo, okay? Tempo squats on the next round. 3 seconds down, 1 second hold. Then we'll see what happens on the last round. Same thing on the planks. Nice deep breaths. The heart rate come down a little bit between sets. Good job, guys. Ten seconds. All right, let's do it. Tempo those squats up. Top. 1, 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3. 1 second at the bottom. Up. 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3. Up. 1, 2, 3, and up. All right, over to the plank. Just for a change of pace, I'm going to do a shoulder tap this time. 2 seconds in, or 2 seconds each, pardon me. Five seconds left. Last one. Whew. Well, that is pretty good. You know what? I said we were going to do another round. We're going to skip it, move on to the next thing. Take a breather, grab a sip of water, start explaining the next one in just a moment. All right, guys, next thing. We are going to do exercise I use quite a bit, the sandbag to shoulder. So you're gonna start with your sandbag on the ground, you're gonna scoop it up, or pardon me, rock to shoulder in this case. For this one especially, you wanna make sure you have any loose straps on your ruck, kind of like this guy right here. Make sure you secure those a little bit. Make sure your straps are relatively tight. If you can, kind of keep things from jostling around. You don't want to catch a buckle in the eye or something. That'd be unfortunate. So just kind of secure it however you can. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere on you. Shouldn't probably be grabbing many of the straps, but straps can swing around and nail you in the eye. So please avoid that if you can. Once again, we're starting out with it down here. You're going to pick it up. Use the power from your knees straightening, your hips extending. Get that thing up on your right shoulder. You're going to lower it down. Get it up on your left shoulder. Feel free to throw a little bit of shrug in there as well. Kind of clean that thing up there. Whole idea with this one is get nice and explosive. 30 seconds of that, okay? Then we're going to set the ruck down. We're going to grab onto whatever straps are going to be sturdy enough to support the load of your, or the weight of your ruck. We're going to do 30 seconds of rows on the right hand side, 30 seconds of rows on the left hand side. So that would look like this right here. Keeping your back relatively flat. Okay, soft bend in there every now and again is probably not the end of the world, but ideally we are extended. Driving that elbow up nice and high. 30 seconds to the right, 30 seconds to the left. Okay, now that we've had a sufficient breather, we are going to get started with that. So again, 30 seconds of the shoulder to overhead. Then we're going to go into that upper body row, or the upper back row. Okay, from the lunging position. We're going to start that up in about 2 seconds. So starting with that sandbag to shoulder. Go ahead, guys. Again, use those hips to get it up. Should be squeezing your butt all the way. 100% butt clench at the top. Last one. Okay, now we're on the row. So take a short second if you need to. Get into a good lunge position. Grab those handles. Start to row. 30 seconds. Halfway there. Drive that elbow up. Back nice and flat. Switch sides. Again, take a second. Make sure you get into a good position. And get into that row. Halfway. Two more. Time. Good job, guys. Full minute of rest. Look back and forth, whatever you want to. Whew, that was a lot of work. Just gonna take a moment to snug up some of my straps here. Definitely a good idea. Again, it's not ideal if you're rowing something up that's touching the ground there, but working with what I have as far as my backpack here. Again, whatever you got there, snug up the straps, grab it from as secure a handle as possible, and get ready to the movement. I'm not getting a totally full range on the row today. It's not the end of the world. Big cues are back nice and flat, driving that elbow up nice and high. And obviously also too, a relatively horizontal body position. This is something like 45 degrees, that's fine. But if you're starting to do this kind of thing, not quite hitting the exercise. All right, just like that, it's time to go again. 30 seconds, getting that sandbag up to the shoulder. Let's go. Time. Position that bag. I'm going to start with my left this time. If you're already on your right, that's okay. Switch it up. Halfway. Whew. 5 seconds. All right, take a breather. Minute rest. This one we'll only do one more time. Good job, guys. Again, I know it's not sometimes ideal working with the ruck or whatever you got, but you work with what you have. You'll generally be better than doing nothing. Keep you moving a little bit. Just more important with when working with these odd objects as opposed to dumbbells, barbells, just really focus on keeping your back nice and flat, shoulders back, all that stuff. Because it can be easier. Obviously, that's why we use dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells when we're lifting stuff. It's always a handle for the weight, generally balanced quite nicely, so it makes it really easy to lift with good form. Backpack, not so much, so just make sure you're paying attention to that form stuff even more. Slow it down if you have to. Make sure you get that form exactly where it ought to be. And we got about 20 seconds left. We're gonna do the last round of this exercise. All right, let's pick back sandbag up. Pardon me, back. All right, ready for those rows. Take a little breather myself. Make sure I can get into a good spot. As soon as you're ready, and drive those elbows up. Switch sides. Take a little breather if you have to. Get right in it. Ten seconds. One more. Good job, guys. Whew. Take a little breather. Get into the next set of exercises. Just a moment. Nice little breather. Hopefully you're working as hard as me. If you're not making a little sweat droplet mess on your floor, consider maybe your ruck's not heavy enough, anything like that. Maybe do a couple more reps than me. Maybe do 10 more seconds of each exercise. Find ways to mix it up so it's at that appropriate difficult level. You shouldn't be dying or anything, but if you're not breathing hard, your heart rate's, down around 110 or something like that, potentially you might want to think about finding a way to up the ante just a little tiny bit, as long as you know your back, shoulders, whatever, feel real good, okay? So this one, we are not going to be using the ruck at all. Actually, for this one, we're not going to have the ruck anymore for the workout, so you can just push that off the side. The rest of the stuff's going to be body weight. So what we're going to start with is you're going to do a step back lunge on each leg, and then a squat, and then you're going to just cycle that. So it's going to look like this right here. Step back, step back, squat, just like that. For added challenge, now, excuse me, how I'm going to start out doing this, but I'll probably devolve back to what I just showed you. You can do jump version of all of those, okay? That would totally be fine. But assuming that, you know, you're not slamming your knee into the floor, for me, that's a personal cue for me that, okay, I'm not really quite as good at stabilizing as I was when I was fresh. I'm going to slow down the movement, go to step back lunge. Instead of jump lunge, just a regular squat instead of a jump squat, okay? From there, 30 seconds of that. Then from there, we're going to do a sit-up with a little bit of a twist, okay? So I'm going to start out nice and stretched out like this right here, hands over my head. I'm going to twist my right elbow to my left knee, just like that right there. Okay, if you know for a fact that full sit-ups are something that kind of jacks up your back, doesn't feel too hot, then I would recommend you don't do them. You could alternatively do any kind of curl up, anything like that. Whatever core exercise you kind of like that feels good and fires up your abs. Maybe you just go back to the dead bug we were doing before. That's totally fine. The goal of this is not to do what I tell you to. The goal of this particular exercise is to get a little bit of a burn going in the abs, feel a little bit of endurance for those flexor muscles. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so whatever you got to do to make sure that happens, if you got to modify, that's totally fine. Again, the goal here is not to blindly do what I tell you. If something I'm telling you to do is bugging your back, don't do it, okay? All right, so with that little disclaimer out of the way, we are going to kick this thing off. And we're going to go basically 60 seconds of work, 60 seconds. Actually, no, we'll trim that down to 30 seconds of work. I'm feeling optimistic today. And we're going to do that for about 3 rounds, okay? Might cut down on my explosiveness of my lunges and my squats, but that's totally fine. All right, guys, let's do it. Oops. Halfway. That's your 30 seconds. Let's get into that sit up. Again, for what I'm doing, starting stretched out, elbow to knee. Ten seconds. That is time. Good job, guys. Nice minute to rest. Follow my own advice. Get up off the floor and move around a little bit. Once again, I often say this, if you're on a wood floor like I am, make sure that your puddle of sweat you're hopefully building up doesn't become a slipping hazard, especially with those jump squats, jump lunges. 30 more seconds to rest. I did pretty well, staying with the explosive version of this. So I'm going to do jump lunges, jump squats for the next round again. If you're really finding you're wobbly, totally fine to regress to that slowed down version. Better do it better slow than really do it fast, but with not great technique. 10 seconds. Five seconds. Jump lunges on each side, and then squats. Let's do it. 10 seconds. Good. Sit-ups next. 10 seconds. Last 5 seconds. Whew. Good job, guys. Definitely felt myself slowing down on the jump squats on that one. I'll probably go half of this one, dynamic jumping. Probably slow it down for the back half. Whew. All right, guys. Ready to do it again? Okay, let's get those lunges going. Get a little wobbly. We're gonna step it out. Feel my legs starting to burn out. No sense doing it wrong. Sit-ups is next. Oh, 5 more seconds. Whew. That one was all right. It's a lot of work. Stand up, take a breather. Whew. Almost there. All right, so for the next thing, we're going to take 6 or 7 minutes. And we're just going to plow through a nice little AMRAP. That means as many reps as possible for the amount of time I give you. We're going to do 5 burpees, 10 mountain climbers, that's 10 on each side, and 15 air squats. So the reps are nice and easy to remember. 5 burpees, because more than 5 is a lot. 10 mountain climbers, those are relatively quick. We're doing 10 per side. And 15 air squats. We've already done some air squats today. These ones, you don't even have to jump, so it'll be all right. So give ourselves another minute or so, catch your breath. Or if you already caught your breath, we're gonna give me another minute or so, catch my breath. Then we're gonna get into this, okay? So, burpees. If you're feeling nice and fresh, you wanna do them nice and quick, feel free to jump them out, okay? So what that's gonna look like is you're gonna start standing position, just like this right here. Hands go down, jump, and if you're like me, nice low ceiling in your basement, tap the ceiling, get some fingerprints on there. You'll never wash them off, like I haven't washed mine off. And I'm starting to collect a few from doing these home classes. Okay, so that's your burpee. If you want to slow it down a little bit, we can go back to that step back lunge pattern we've been practicing a lot, so it should be nice and fresh. You're gonna step back, push up position, you can even drop down your knees, do that push up, and then jump, okay? So either one's totally fine, it depends. If you're feeling fresh, jump them out. If you're feeling a little fatigued, nothing wrong with slowing it down. I promise you it'll still be work. And there'll still be burpees, okay? After those are done, you go down to that front support position. And we're gonna do some mountain climbers. Just like that, okay? Elbow or knee to an elbow is 1 rep on each side. On each side is 1 rep, okay? So right, left 1, right, left 2, etc. Okay? Air squats, you've seen me do a bunch of these already. That simple. Another review for the air squats. What we're aiming for is hip crease below the top of the knee is kind of our depth goal. But more important than that, as low as you can go, back nice and flat, feet stay flat on the ground. And chest is relatively vertical. We're not doing this. I'm going to stand up all the way at the top, okay? All right, so we're going to continue this. You know what? I've talked a little bit. We're going to do it for 5 minutes. Ah, heck, we'll go 6. Nice, even 6. All right, guys, burpees first. Let's go. Mountain climbers next for me. I just rip through those burpees. Let my heart rate come down just a touch. I'll breathe a couple times, then right into those mountain climbers. Whew. And some squats. Whew. I'm not going to rip through my squats. I'm going to breathe. Slow it down a little bit. If you're feeling good, go ahead and rip through them. One minute up already. Right back into the burpees. These ones, I'm going to walk them out. Lunge back, push up, step forward, up. Sweating all over the place. Time for some mountain climbers. Shot, guys. You got 3.5 minutes left. Halfway there. Whew. 2.5 minutes left. Two minutes, guys. Let's do some burpees. Last 90 seconds, guys. Let's get some mountain climbers done. That's a minute. Less than a minute left, guys. "45 seconds. Finish up what you can with this last round. Mountain climbers. And that's time. Good job, guys. Walk around a little bit, breathe. We kick off cool down in just a minute. Well done. As we're beginning to start to relax, not really relax, but come down heart rate wise. Again, never a good idea. Lay out on the floor unless you're feeling super lightheaded and you're going to be on the floor regardless of whether you want to be or not. It's better to choose to be there, pardon me, than be put there by your physiology. So we don't want that. So if you gotta lay down, lay down. If not, stay stood up. Do some breathing. Once the breath starts to slow, just a nice good idea is start slowing down that inhale. Stretching out over 4 seconds, holding your air in for 4 seconds, then breathing out over 4 seconds. Doesn't matter if you can't quite do 4, maybe you start with 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, hold out, and then 2, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 3, 3, 3. All the way till you get to that 4 there, and just cycle through that a couple of times. So I'm gonna do that right now. As you're continuing going, quick reminder, it's always good to do the breathing exercises. They're definitely a good idea. But if you feel lightheaded, especially during that hold, that exhale out, maybe shut her down. Maybe you don't hold the exhale out for 4 seconds. Maybe you just do 1 and you just start to stretch it out. We're going to do roughly 4 cycles of this. You should be on your 3rd one right now. So it's okay to catch up a little bit. So I'm going to start another one on my own. Job. So I wasn't perfect in my breath holding myself, but again, the whole idea, I'm starting to feel myself start to relax. My heart rate's coming down, that pounding going on in my chest. So we're accomplishing the goal. If it's not perfect, it doesn't need to be totally perfect, as long as, once again, we're getting after the goal of bringing things down a little bit. We are going to do some kind of stretching stuff, potentially on the floor a little bit. It's always a good idea to, right after working out, not plant yourself on the floor, start stretching. Give yourself the opportunity to kind of relax in that standing position. Oftentimes we change body positions, change levels. We can get a lightheaded, which is not ideal and not optimum for recovery either. So I'm going to keep myself standing. I'm going to start out 2 thumbs up like this. Flip my thumbs out to the side. Exhale, straighten the elbows. We're going to do that. One more time, so 5 times total. Good. Next thing, 2 thumbs up. I'm going to follow that thumb out to the side with my eyeball. Bring it in, then you're gonna look at that little guy. Do that as well. A little tight on my left side. Just once through. Okay, then I'm gonna go up with my right, down with my left, keeping those shoulders relatively low, just as long as you're not shrugging up. You don't have to pin your shoulder blades down to your rib cage or anything, but just make sure you're not crunching up. Make sure you basically still have a neck, you're probably okay. If your neck's disappearing on you, you're probably crunching those shoulders up a little too high. Good. Okay, so we're gonna go back to that world's greatest stretch to start, and we'll see how deep we can get. From there, you're gonna squeeze glute, push hips forward. Nice little stretch in the front of the hip, and you look over the forward leg, just like that. Hand goes up in the air, palm towards the ceiling. Both hands down. By now you might be a little bit more limbered up, so I'm going to attempt to reach my elbow to the floor. Send my hand up to the ceiling. Oh. Slippery floor, almost got me there. Go to that forward leg. Goes up to the ceiling, around the other side of the foot. All right. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go down on the floor. And we're going to do that classic quad stretch. Making sure to squeeze your glute on that leg you're stretching. That's going to ensure you're actually getting the target area there. If your knee's forward, you're probably not hitting the spot. If your knee's back, you're squeezing your butt, you're probably getting into that quad and hip flexor fairly well. Same thing on the other side. Good. Okay, guys. We're going to get into a tabletop position now. All you're going to do is you're going to arch your back, look up at the ceiling, hold that for breath. And you're going to look between your knees around that back, push the middle of your back up towards the ceiling. Just going to alternate between those two positions. 2 more times. From there, you're going to drop back, let the head relax between the shoulders. Alternate, just gently biasing one side and then the other. As it starts to loosen up, you can go maybe a little bit deeper into the stretch, but we're not trying to get a 10 over 10 stretch here. 4, 5, 6 out of 10 is okay for our cooling down purposes. Alright guys, so that's it for me. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about the workout, Danielle will be on the page there to answer any other questions that may have popped up. Other than that, thanks for coming out and hopefully working hard along with me today. I'm going to go get my mop and clean my floor. So once again, thanks guys. Have a good weekend.